Like most things in life, the business of franchising can also have a life cycle. Now, although there'll always be the exceptions, statistics shows franchisees on average remain within the system for close to 7 years. So what happens next? How do you move on? And to what? Hi, I'm Effie Zahos and welcome to The Franchise Show. When you're yearning to explore new opportunities in your life, what happens to the business you spent years building? And how easy is it to actually move on? Well, after achieving his business goals, Gold Coast franchisee Rob felt ready to move on and tackle new adventures. But as Darren found out, his transition out had an interesting twist.
Well, you often hear stories of young people starting out in a franchise and then one day owning the business. Well, in Rob's case, he's worked here for 10 years and owned the business. His plans for the future still involve Michelle's, and they're quite unique. Rob, tell us, why did you get into franchising in the first place?
I had a few people discuss things with me along the way, any changes in life that I would look at, and one of them was franchising through a mutual friend. And once we looked into Retail Food Group and just their background and support system and how they all work with their brands, that's what really got me interested. And this particular store here came up at the time, and basically 10 years on, here we are.
Did you start off with Michelle's?
No, September 11, 2006 to be exact, we started off as BB's Cafe. And basically BB's in the days was, you know, your traditional just sandwiches and muffins and wraps and things like that. And then 2009, the new model of Michelle's was out. We looked at it and thought, wow, I mean, you know, it's been missing in the centre for a while now, so why don't we look at the addition of cakes to bring that back into the centre and savouries and more of a menu option for our customers. And ever since then, you know, 2 years on, here we are still with Michelle's, and yeah, exceptional.
Was that a difficult transition going from BB's into Michelle's?
Oh, look, there was always those ups and downs. You know, you've got your shop fitters and working with your drafts people and not knowing how things are going to come across. Like, you know, your plans are one thing and then how it turns out to be another, just to make it work well for us, you know. And so, you know, between centre management and Retail Food Group and myself, we all work together to make it as easy as possible with the transition.
How long have you been in franchise operation now?
10 years.
How has the 10 years been? Has it been a journey?
Oh, absolutely. That's that roller coaster, as they say. You know, you've got your rent increases, you've got your change of demographic of people, and you know your competition increases, and you know you're always trying to be that one step better. And I suppose coming from our background of hospitality with my family, you know, you bring that into whatever you do in life, and you know, banking, insurance that I've done, and you incorporate that, and it works. You know, it helps, and good customer service and a good product always takes you that next step.
I've noticed that with the customers coming in and out while we've been setting up here today, you know just about everybody's name. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. People love it. Approach the counter, you've made their coffee, you know, already before they're at the counter, or knowing what they want, and it's that relationship. That's the most important thing, and that's what I think why we're still here today, and building that all the time makes it easier and better.
Where do you want to be? Have you thought about the next 10 years?
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's been on the cards for about 6-7 months now. We're looking at selling. What do we do? You know, I've always been interested in using my experience and my knowledge to consult, you know, other franchisees, possibly in working maybe with Retail Food Group in the international sector of what they're doing there, and the other stores that a possibility of opening up that need that building and rapport, and you know, just being involved with the franchise community in RFG. I think that could be a long-term project. You
must be impressed with the model to consider passing on your baby and then still being involved and helping others.
Yes, this is very unique, you know, very, very unique. And this is what people look for, that good thing with their cake still, and, you know, still baking, and, you know, and what they're doing with the future of Michelle's. That's something I'd like to be involved in for sure. The perfect picture would be probably managing 2 or 3 stores, and hopefully if there is an opportunity internationally, that's definitely where I want to go. I've learned lots, and now it's just to pass on my knowledge and experience to others to help build their business.
I'd imagine that being someone who cares about their business so much, that would be a difficult day to walk away from the actual ownership at some stage?
Look, I suppose at the end of the day, I've got people that have been here, honestly, for 10 years with me. Day I opened, and that's fantastic. That's great loyalty to me, and trust. Obviously, you build that trust. So I know I've got the right people here to continue on in this store, and then hopefully for me, as I said, what the future holds, who knows?
We spend a lot of time in the workplace, and especially if you're a small business. And often this means that when we leave that business, it can be quite a difficult time, and a process of grieving is due to be had. It's really important that when you go through the process of leaving a business that you've worked in for a long time, that you find ways to channel your energy. And sometimes this can be quite a traumatic experience, especially if a partnership or a business doesn't end amicably. We'd always recommend that if you are struggling with any type of emotional issues associated with the end of a business or the end of an era, that you contact your local GP and access a free mental health plan, or any of the various charity organisations which are available to you, to speak to someone about counselling.
Coming up after the break, we chat with another industry hero who successfully got their finger on the franchising pulse. You're watching The Franchise Show. Welcome back. When starting out in business, the exit plan is most likely the last thing on your mind. But according to our business advisor, Bruce Sullivan, getting your affairs in order early could dramatically assist your business's success and journey.
Hi, I'm Bruce Sullivan, and I'm a business advisor working with businesses in Australia and overseas. When moving on from a franchise business, it's crucial to follow these steps. I think it's really important to agree at the beginning of the business how you will value the business at the end. So, for example, if one partner wants to leave the business, how will you decide? What method will you use to decide how much the business is worth? I think it's also important to agree at the beginning about how much contact you will have with your advisors during the lifetime of the business. For example, even just seeing your accountant every 3 months will make it easier at the end to know that the things that matter are actually up to date. If there is an association with your industry, then my encouragement to you is to join it. Whether it's good or bad, whether people say it's a useless or a waste of time, or whether people say it's valuable, you get to hang out with people that understand your business, and you get to hang out with people that understand maybe even how to leave your business. And some of the corridor conversations or morning tea conversations that you can have in those associations will prove incredibly valuable for you, not just during the life of your business, but particularly when it's time to move on. It's really important that you go back to the documents that you created at the beginning. The $500 you spent at the beginning getting some really clear agreements with your partners on how you do business and how you end a business is going to be worth at least $5,000 to $15,000 at the end. So go back to those documents, have a look at those documents, and be sure that you actually know what's expected of you if you're planning to leave the business. So once you've gone back and reviewed your agreement, then if you're definitely deciding to go, you should let people know as soon as possible. The sooner everybody knows in your business, then the quicker you can prepare the financials and the documents that are needed. The more conversations you can have at that particular point in time will make it easier at the end when it's finally time to sell. Look, I know I've said this before, I cannot stress enough the importance of involving your accountants, lawyers, business advisor, franchisor as soon as you possibly can. The more involvement you have with those people at the beginning and along the way, the easier it will always be at the end.
Missed an episode? Catch up on our website, thefranchiseshow.com.au, and like us on our Facebook page to receive plenty of updates and much, much more.
Hi, I'm Kelly Cranch, and this is my franchising journey. We owned our franchise for 7 years. It was always a 7-year plan to buy the business, pay the business loan off, and then go back to the industries that we were both in before. We were 29, so the timing was perfect, and we ended up having a fantastic franchising story and did really, really well out of it. We looked around for a while. The timing was right. We had 2 little kids. We were 29. It was the time to sort of take a leap of faith and buy our own business. So we did a fair bit of research and came to the decision to buy a bakery franchise and opened our first one. We ended up owning 2 and still stuck to our 7-year plan. We sort of knew the area we wanted to go into business, and this sort of business fit into the area and the shop that we'd located that we wanted to open up a brand new site in. And, it just worked. It was brilliant. It gave you the flexibility to be with the kids and school pickups. And so the franchise actually worked out brilliantly as a mum, because I could do the best of everything. I could be at the store when it's busy, be there for the kids if they had sporting activities and things without someone sort of standing over me saying, you must work. So for the lifestyle side of it, worked really well with a young family. I think it was a new industry, a new field, so we had to learn how to bake bread, all that sort of stuff. The customer service and getting the community was the easy bits, and, you know, finding the right staff to complement our customers that fit in to give great customer service, to give the right bread. It was, you know, learning. Once we were in and open and had all those down pat, it was just about growing the business, working on a profitability and, you know, different things we could do in the community to make the business more of a success. I think that it was mine, ours. You know, we got to get in the local community. Everything we did for it was for our own good, the extra hours. And I know we worked weekends and 7 days a week, but it was our business, and the success and the hard work that we put into it was all about us and our family's success. So that was really important to us. Before we knew it, someone, without us even putting on the market, had come and given us an offer on the store. So we decided to sell the business and, you know, either go back into our fields that we came from. For me, I'd really loved the franchising journey and really helping other franchise partners around us, because we were quite a community, even though we owned our own business. We also worked together on marketing campaigns, all that sort of stuff, so it seemed a natural transition. I applied for a job with Gloria Jeans, to be an operations manager with Gloria Jeans and help facilitate other franchise partners in their profitability and their business journey, and it just worked out perfectly to go and help them and myself as well to stay in the franchise. And then I was fortunate enough to get promoted back to the RFG head office, where I'm now helping people buy their own Gloria Jeans business and getting them the right location and setting them up in their own business. For me, I'm really happy in my role with Gloria Jeans in a recruitment role. Long term, I'm going to stay in franchising because I find it really rewarding to get the right people into the right business. And long term, I think I'll stay with the company and see where it takes me.
Next on The Franchise Show, we hear from one industry business whose model is opening up a world of energised franchise opportunities. We've got more after this break on The Franchise Show. Running a small business can be financially and personally rewarding, but the time may come when you're ready to move on. Franchises can be easier to sell than an independent venture, thanks to the value of the brand name. However, whether you choose to sell up or close down, it's important to wrap up financial obligations, like paying off overdrafts or business loans and shutting down business bank accounts. Check leasehold commitments too. You may be required to give the landlord a set period of notice, or even find another tenant before you're released from paying rent. Most importantly, don't overlook your employee entitlements. Give your staff plenty of notice and ensure employer-paid super, PAYG tax and holiday pay are all paid out. Now, in some cases, employees may be entitled to redundancy pay. You can check the government's portal on this. Now, if you do sell the business, it can be worth tipping part of the proceeds into your super. Self-employed workers often have low retirement savings, and growing your nest egg ensures you're rewarded for the hard work invested in your business.
Hi, I'm Ian Powell and I've got the Battery World at Campbelltown in Sydney. Initially, I was being made redundant and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started to look around. I'd looked at some of the food franchises, decided they weren't for me, but I wanted something that I wasn't tied to a shopping centre. Battery World looked very, very attractive to us. So I started doing my research and here I am. My background is banking and finance, so I knew nothing about batteries, so I had to then start to learn what I needed to know to take on the franchise. The benefit of being part of a franchise community is that you're not left alone. Battery World does 2 weeks in-house and 2 weeks in-store, so we have access to people. If I had tried to start up a battery store by myself with no experience, I would have failed immediately. But I have the ability to go out there and call any of the other franchisees. We also have our bi-monthly meetings where we have suppliers come in and they allow us to view their new products and we learn from that. Customer service is everything in any retail business. We pride ourselves on our customer service. We do a lot of free testing and fitting, etc., just to get people comfortable and know that they can come to us with practically any problem. We have a very diverse group of people out here. We have some people with a lot of money, a lot of people with not so much money. So we have to be very flexible. We discount where we have to, but it's about knowing your customer and knowing what their needs are. There's no point trying to sell them something that they don't need. Through my background in baseball in the community, I was able to sponsor one of the local clubs and our major league association, the Macarthur Orioles. And we found some very good support from the members of those clubs coming back and repaying our sponsorship. You know, we help kids get on the park and play sport. So it may not be much, but it helps. The growth of our store is going to be tied to the growth of Campbelltown. Campbelltown is one of the largest growing residential areas in Australia. So we're glad that we've chosen Campbelltown. We live in Campbelltown. We only live 10 minutes away, so we know our area. And the amount of development that's going on in this area and over in Camden is absolutely massive. So our view is we want to get a customer in, and then we don't want their first sale, we want their 6th and 7th sale. So that sets us up in the long term. The biggest challenge that we've had so far would be because we're a greenfield site, we've had to develop it from zero up to where we are today, and we're not happy with where we are today. We want to keep on growing and growing and growing with the area of Campbelltown, but it's just getting our name out there and letting people know that Battery World is in Campbelltown and that they can come and see us. I actually got woken up at 10 to 6 this morning to go and do a call out to the Narellan Police Station to jumpstart one of their trucks. So yes, we're available 24 hours, 7 days a week. I even get calls on Christmas Day. One thing that's actually surprised us as far as rewards go is that my wife and I run the business on a daily basis. We have a casual employee who comes in twice a week, but our kids also get in and help. So to actually spend some time with them and see how they've developed in their lives and see how we're ever evolving as well, that's probably been the surprise out of the whole lot. My advice to anybody would be, do your research, make sure you've got cash flow, make sure you've got some financial reserves, and talk to the other franchisees so you know what you're getting into. The thing that I like the most is actually interacting with the people. People come in and sometimes they're not too happy because they've got a flat battery, and if we can send them out with a smile on their face and a bit of a laugh and a joke and make their day a little bit better, gives me a little bit right here.
There are a number of ways a franchise agreement can come to an end. The most likely is the end of the term of the agreement, which is usually between 5 and 10 years. The other most common way to end an agreement is through the sale of a franchise to a new franchisee. While the outgoing franchisee is usually responsible for selling their business, the new franchisee often needs to be approved and trained by the franchisor. Both the franchisee and franchisor may have rights within the agreement for early terminations, or the prospect may arise through a dispute between the franchisee and franchisor. To make sure you know exactly when, how, and why you can terminate your franchise agreement or be terminated by the franchisor, it's vital that you get professional legal advice before signing on the dotted line.
Coming up, we hear the real-life stories of franchisees who've made the leap away from the industry, successfully taking their diverse skill set with them. You're watching The Franchise Show. You're back with The Franchise Show. Now, moving on from your business can be one of the toughest decisions you'll ever make in your professional career. Topped with the daunting realisation that a detailed list of exiting rules and regulations need to be followed. We hear from a law firm who specialises in franchise business to discover how to make a successful transition efficiently and effectively.
Hi, I'm Emma Jervis. I'm a practice leader and the head of franchise law here at Legal Vision. Moving on from a franchise can be done successfully. Here's how. So right from the start, you should make sure you actually can terminate the franchise agreement. The vast majority of franchise agreements are for a fixed term and they don't have a clause entitling the franchisee to terminate at will. Our second point is to consider a sale as opposed to just walking away or leaving the franchise business. If you're leaving for personal reasons or you simply want to pursue another endeavour, but your business is nonetheless trading well and you could sell it as a going concern, you might want to consider that transfer. On that issue, most franchise agreements do contain a clause entitling the franchisee to sell, provided that they have the franchisor's consent. Our next point is to review the franchise agreement thoroughly. The vast majority of franchise agreements will actually have a specific clause detailing what the franchisee has to do on termination, but you should review the entirety of the agreement. It might detail, for example, things like your ongoing use of the intellectual property, the return of the operations manual, and those sort of practical requirements. Step number 4 applies if you're operating from a premises, for example, a retail premises. If that's the case, you should review your lease or your licence to understand your obligations under that document as well. There'll be requirements with respect to the giving of notice and also things like make good. So next, you should consider the restraint of trade clause. The vast majority of franchise agreements will have a restraint of trade which seek to prevent you setting up in competition. So if you're looking to open up another business in the same industry or even take your client base with you, you really need to understand how that clause is going to apply to you. Number 6 is quite a simple one, and that's just to understand when you actually have to give notice of your intention to vacate the franchise business. So here you should be looking at not only the time required, but also the method of giving notice, which is usually just in writing. So finally, number 7, taking into account all of the other steps we've talked about, you should develop a proper exit plan, putting into place a timeline of events and what has to happen before each and every one of those can occur. So it's important that all of these steps are considered right at the outset before you even sign the franchise agreement, so that you're aware throughout the term and when you come to exit of what your rights and obligations are.
Moving on, it's just part of the life cycle of a business, but it can lead to so many wonderful possibilities. Yet the skills learned in franchising can most certainly prove vital when entering into another venture, especially within another exciting and potentially lucrative franchise model. Hi, I'm Effie Zahos, and thanks again for joining us. Hope to catch you next Sunday on The Franchise Show.